Hi, my name is Rohan Fowler, and this is my first video that I'm about to do for my course, Criminal Justice. I'm currently studying at Nova Southeastern University, and I'm going to be sharing as the semester goes along my papers, my research papers and my essays regarding to the different aspects of the criminal justice system. And the reason I'm doing this is for my niece, Shantoy Usher, aka Ashley Loves Pink Usher, and my daughter Amory Fowler. They both have dreams or as prospects of going to the criminal justice system in the future. Ashley wants to be like a criminal profiler slash police detective, and Amory wants to be an attorney and also a fashion designer, just like Ashley. So Amory, although she doesn't want to acknowledge it, she is a replica of Ashley. And for them, I'm posting these papers so that they can see the work and the effort it takes to study to get that degree. So this is my first video. As I go along, my appearance will get better. I'll be well shaved in some of my videos. I probably have hair on my face, a hat, because I refuse to comb my hair today. And I hope you enjoy my paper. The first paper, it's about criminal profiling, and my main subject I studied was John Douglas, aka the Mind Hunter, and he's one of the pioneers that defined criminal profiling. Many of us are used to criminal profiling due to our TV shows, Criminal Minds, CSI, Dexter. But as we're going to come to realize and recognize that criminal profiling has nothing to do with the glamorization that we see on TV. It's far from it. And in words to use to describe criminal profiling without disrespecting the profession, it's basic detective work. That's all it is. But it takes a lot more preparation and studying and application of forensic psychology to become a criminal profiler. So here goes. My paper is about criminal profiling, John Douglas, the Mind Hunter. What makes a man kill his fellow man? This is a question that criminal profilers, investigators, workers within the criminal justice system, and many psychological scholars would ponder. Nothing is more difficult than hunting the hunter of man. Robert Ressler. He made that quote a few years ago. A serial killer is one such hunter, and their prey is man. And who becomes a victim is determined by only one thing, and that is the mind of the serial killer. A serial killer psychological state of mind plays a major role of why they kill, how they kill, and the criminal's profiler uses a profile, which is a psychological portrait of the killer, to determine the identity of a serial killer. A profile establishes a map into the mind of the murderer, and this is where the hunt begins. Criminal profiling is considered a forensic application of psychology because profilers use behavioral patterns to crime by looking at the crime scene evidence, police report, victim statements, and autopsy results to get an understanding or draw a conclusion of who the perpetrator or unsub, aka unknown subject, is, and forensic psychology is any application of psychology to research method, theory, and practice to a task faced by the legal system. And that was the definition by Fulero, 2009. The role of a criminal profiler in an investigation is to put together a composite of the unsub. In the simplest terms, coming up with reasonable composites of a person or people who committed one or more crimes by connecting the dots with the evidence that was left behind, such as witnesses who gave a physical description of the unsub, while witness descriptions often conflict with one to another. The details that are common denominators in their accounts are extremely useful. A crime scene filled with behavioral and forensic clues, from the location itself to objects the killer might have taken as souvenirs to his own hair or blood. A living victim, if we are really fortunate, who can describe the attacker and how he behaved during the assault, more often, unfortunately, a body. You can tell a lot about the unsub from the condition of the victim's body, from the specific acts of violence perpetrated against the victim, to whether he covered her face, which is often a sign of shame on the killer's part, or, sick as it is, defecated on her body, obviously a sign of anger or disrespect. Most of these factors were utilized by John Douglas as a master criminal profiler who began working with the FBI Behavioral Science Unit at Quantico, Virginia in 1977, where he joined a group that conducted interviews with monsters like David Berkowitz, Ed Kemper, Richard Speck, and Charles Manson. It was through connecting the dots of evidence that was left behind that allowed him to identify in 1980 the Trailside Killer in San Francisco, who between August 1979 and November 1980 killed 7 people in Mount Tamalpais in Point Reyes Park. All the victims were attacked from behind and killed blitz style, either by a single bullet to the back of the head or multiple stab wounds. His victims consisted of 6 women and 2 men. John Douglas wrote in his case file, "There were many elements to the profile I developed of this unsub, including his age, intelligence, and employment status. But I was led to one specific characteristic by the nature of the crime and scenes and the type of attacks. The murderer had all taken place in the wooded, secluded location inaccessible by car. I wondered why this guy attacked so quickly in such isolated spots. The fact that he had to rely on such rapid assaults in the middle of nowhere told me something extremely important. There was something wrong with him. I remember thinking, and something he's awkward about or ashamed of. Even as I considered what it could be, I was imagining the looks on the faces of the veteran officers I'd be making this presentation to. But I couldn't let the possibility of scrutiny or even ridicule hinder me. I thought it through. Maybe he's really unattractive, with terrible acne scars or facial deformity. But I had to rule out there were enough people in the parks on the day of the murders that it was likely someone would have come forward to say they'd seen an unusual looking guy walking around. What about a missing limb or appendage? The above reason applied to both the possibilities as well. But the speed and efficiency of the murderers meant that the unsub probably didn't have a physical impairment. That left something less obvious but equally emotional troubling for the killer, something others wouldn't know about until he opened his mouth. Like a speech impediment. My suggestion to the San Francisco Police Department that the Trailside Killer had a speech impediment was met with varying responses, from interest to incredulity and downright laughter. Someone even asked if I was a psychic. For a profile to be this specific about an unsub, it comes from years of experience and careful application of inductive and deductive reasoning, combined with trends in other crimes that they have observed and used both to reach their conclusions. Contrary to popular belief that may have been glamorized by television series by John Douglas through his series Mindhunters and various other TV criminal dramas such as CSI, Criminal Minds, Law and Order, Dexter, and various fiction novels, there is no job specifically referred to as a profiler, and it is not written on anyone's business card or posted on an office door. There are supervisory special agents within the FBI who uses forensic psychology to detect behavioral patterns of an unknown subject, commonly referred to as an unsub. It's not just any agent that can become a criminal profiler within the FBI, because there is no course to take to become a criminal profiler, but an agent has to serve at first a minimum of 5 years as a special agent in addition to be assigned as a profile coordinator in an FBI field office. The selection process on becoming a criminal profiler is very complicated and the requirements are very rigid. An education in behavioral science or forensic science is highly preferred and will give an edge over other candidates that don't have this experience. A background investigating violent crimes is a must, so a special agent's experience with the Bureau must include homicide, rape, and other crimes of interpersonal violence. This experience can also be gathered from prior employment before entering the Bureau. However, keep one thing in mind. If your career goal is to become a criminal profiler within the FBI, be first prepared mentally to accept any other positions than profiling that you may end up with, because this role is very limited, selective, and very subjective and highly competitive process. Criminal profiling and criminal profilers impact the world of forensic psychology in the ways that it is a collection of data, assessment, and application of knowledge collected from criminals through a series of personal interviews with captured and incarcerated serial criminals and allowing them to confide in you and open up about how they committed these crimes, the motives for committing the crimes, and what triggered their sadistic lifestyle on becoming serial criminals. Profilers do this in order to solve future crimes or assist in building preventative methods in the hopes of deterring certain criminal offenses from being committed in the future. In order to understand an artist, you must look at the work. John Douglas, 2003. The reason for this generalization of characteristics of a serial criminal is that the crime is a reflection of the offender, and many, if not all, serial criminals utilizes signature behavior and signature aspects, which is an emotional or psychological theme of needs that the offender satisfies when they commit offensive behavior. That was quoted by John Douglas and Munn in 1992. It is difficult to determine whether criminal profiling helps the cause of forensic psychology in the criminal justice system on becoming a more accepting field within the legal system, or is it that forensic psychology helps solidify the works of criminal profilers as a credible profession, rather than a euphemism for the word detective. One thing for certain, due to the effort and the hard work of criminal profilers and their hunches, as some scholars and skeptics have classified it, they have worked feverishly with law enforcement officers and have helped to solve, arrest, prosecute, and lock away many of the most heinous serial criminals of our society, whose only purpose is to wreak havoc, leave a trail of destruction, and shatter the lives of families for eternity. So there you have it in a nutshell of what criminal profiling is really about. It's not a glamorous work. It's not something you go to school for. It's something that you practice, and not many profilers exist in today's society. Because, contrary to our beliefs, not many serial killers are in our societies. We probably have a total of 2 to 3 serial killers every 15 to 20 years. So for those who are going to study criminal justice and do this class forensic psychology, this is a very effective paper that I wrote that I think would be helpful. I may be biased. It may not be a great paper, but it's a start and it's a helpful tool. You can use it for citations in your paper, and there may be some helpful information to it. So there you go, Ashley. There you go, Amory. You both have something to refer to as you venture off into your professions, in your careers, and your educational aspects. So that's my first input, and that's my first video on criminal justice system and forensic psychology. I'll be posting more on other subjects as I go along. Thanks.